So dear colleagues, our participants and attendees, dear partners and beneficiaries, we extend a warm welcome to all our viewers and listeners. At the dawn of the working week following the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, the concerned stakeholders around the world gather for dedicated meetings and sessions in observance of this special occasion. And we are privileged and happy to have you all with us today to share knowledge and aspirations, to exchange views and experience with each other and the wider community of our attendees and online viewers across regions. One of the major questions to be addressed today is, why technology? And one of the best answers to this question would probably be the famous quote by the former director of the IBM National Support Center for Persons with Disabilities, who once stated, "For most people, technology makes things easier. For persons with disabilities, technology makes things possible." Now, the speakers and panelists of our today's session have their answers to these questions. Why persons with disabilities? Why now? And why technology? And the answers are in their committed expertise, their presentations, the views and insights our eminent guests will share with us today. And you may post your questions in the Q&A session. Sounding the keynote for our webinar is the director of UNESCO IITE, the person in front of all our dedicated inclusion-driven activities worldwide, and the one behind our encouragement and confidence, Mr. Zhan. Tao, we'll look forward to your opening statement.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Elena. Dear colleagues, greetings from Moscow, IITE, the winter Moscow, full of snow outside of the building. But all we have a warm heart and for this activity, for this event. I'm very pleased, we are very pleased, IITE, to partner with our sister institute, UNESCO Institute IICBA, located in Africa, led by Dr. Quentin, together with IITE to organize this webinar dedicated to the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. We are very thankful to all the partners from ITU, UNICEF, and the speakers from all over the world for your contribution and participation. And we also welcome all the participants, although I couldn't see them, all of you on screen. We appreciate your engagement and we appreciate your contribution to education for persons with disabilities. This is a mission, this is a flag calling us all gathering here today. Dear colleagues, whenever we talk about SDG 4, talk about quality education for all, whenever we talk about digital divide, digital inclusion, all the concerns are new concerns with the rapid development and application of AI, especially open AI. Whenever we talk about equal rights to everyone for education, we always need to highlight one special vulnerable group. That's our sisters, brothers, and children with disabilities. They need special support from all of us collectively. Otherwise, we cannot reach SDG 4. And equal rights to education will remain forever like a dream far away from us. But the question is how? The challenge is how we can better support our sisters, brothers, and children with disabilities for equal rights to education. We know there are numerous and plenty of new opportunities with the development of technology. We also know there are so many and new challenges. And I know there is no easy and simple solution. But we do know only we work together, we could be more powerful and with more strength to reach the goal. And IITE, we are very proud that we have a team led by Ms. Natalia Amelina, working on education for persons with disabilities. We do not work alone. We work together with our partners from different regions of the world and with partners from different sectors, because we believe that only when we work together, we can better support our sister brothers and children with disabilities. And before finishing, I would like to say that supporting persons with disabilities for the equal rights to education is not only for us to help them, it is also an approach, an experience for us to learn from them. And from my own experience, from our collaboration with the Chinese Disabled Persons Federation, our collaboration with the All Russia Association for the Blind, and with Rehabilitation International, and even more partners. I learned so much from them. I'm always so inspired by their touching stories and the spirit of resilience. And so working together, not only by all of us, but together with our sisters, brothers, and children with disabilities, we can make this world more beautiful and to reach our goal of sustainable development. Not only on this occasion of this special day of International Day of Persons with Disabilities, but on every day and forever. I thank you all for your participation and contribution.
Thank you very much, Tao. Encouraging and inspiring as always. UNESCO IITE is proud to co-host this session with ICBA, the International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa. And representing the team of seasoned region-devoted professionals is the director of ICBA, Mr. Quentin Wodon. Quentin, we gratefully recognize ICBA's support and gladly cede the floor to you.
Thank you. So I'm glad we are seasoned, dedicated professionals. That's good. All right, so I think I have about 10 minutes. Elena, when we discussed the webinar, I mean, the main focus was on digital technologies, but we haven't done that much actually on digital technologies for children with disabilities at ICBA. I'm going to talk about something slightly different, and let me try to share my screen. And I'm going to talk about some work we are doing on school eye health. But some of what I'm going to say hopefully is also relevant for you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's here.
All right. So let me go to the presentation mode. Can you see me moving my screen? Can you see the next slide here?
Not yet.
I always have that difficulty. Let me check how I do this. All right, so what I'm going to do, and I'm sorry about this, I'm going to reshare my screen and not go to the presentation mode. That should be good enough. So share again, and here we are. All right, so what I'm going to talk about is some work we are doing right now on school eye health. And I'm going to use a presentation I made a few months ago at a webinar, or actually it was in person in Uganda as part of what we call the KICS program, which is a knowledge and innovation exchange program where we work with 19 African countries. So, oh my God, this is not working properly. Okay. If we think about investing in education for children with disabilities, and I'm an economist, right? So you will have all the bad patterns of the economist in my presentation. I think that we need to do three things. First, when you want to convince, for example, a Ministry of Education or a Minister of Finance to provide more funding for this work, we need to show that there's a need for intervention. We need to document the gaps, the disability gaps in educational outcomes between the children with disabilities and the children without disabilities. Then we need to discuss whether this intervention may have high returns as high returns for children with disabilities than others. And finally, we need to demonstrate that successful interventions are both feasible and affordable. And that's why the example of school eye health is a good one. So when we presented this in Uganda, the first part was to show that there is a need for interventions. And what we did was use census data to show that even though there has been progress over time for children with disabilities, and often that progress has been larger than the progress for children without disabilities, the gaps remain. And that's what you have on the left here, where you have in blue men with no disabilities, in blue dashed line, the men with, in this case, hearing disabilities, and the red for women. And you see that children with disabilities have been making a bit more progress over time than other children, but there's still a large gap, at least for hearing disabilities. And then we looked at the pattern, and you can see that actually the prevalence of hearing disabilities is very different depending on where you are in the country. The next slide is the same thing, but for children with multiple difficulties. And there you can actually show that there has been very little progress, very little diminution of the gap between the children with multiple disabilities and the other children. That's basically what we can use to show that there is a need for interventions. And then I'm going to go very fast on this, but we computed marginal effects using regression analysis and how much, for example, a disability was leading to less primary completion, less literacy, and many children never enrolling. Now, if you look at the reasons why children never enroll in school in Africa, some children, right? You see a huge difference between children with and without disabilities. And that's what you have here on the left, where questions are asked, in this case with data for Uganda, because this was the case study, about why did you never enroll your child in school? And we provide the answer to that question in orange for the children with disability and in blue for the children without disability. And you can see, of course, the huge difference, right? Being or having a disability is a key reason for never going to school. No surprise. But you can also look at that by type of disability. Now, if you look at the reasons for dropping out of school, right? In here, we ask again, why did your child drop out of school? You see much fewer differences between children with disabilities and children with no disability. So essentially, a big part of the solution is to get the children to go to school. And then, at least if you provide some support, you have a good chance of keeping those children in school for a long time, children with disability, with some caveats that I'll get to. Now, what the caveat is that the children need to learn in school, right? There are a number of parameters, and I won't go in details in this slide, in terms of what affects learning, but the role of teachers is really the key, and especially having more female teachers, more female head principals, and so on. And we did this work with different types of surveys, PASEC for Francophone Africa. What you have on this slide, and we can make those available to you, is analysis with data specifically for Uganda. So teachers are the key. But what is also important is that for children with disability and for children with no disability, the lack of learning is the main reason to drop out from primary school. And it's often the main reason to drop out of secondary school. Afterwards, it changes a bit. Social norms play a larger role. But then the question comes in terms of, well, what would make a difference, right? And I didn't have a slide on that, but we can show, for example, in the case of visual impairment, which is my illustrative case study, providing a pair of eyeglasses, right, which I'm wearing right now, is actually extremely cheap and improves learning for the children with visual impairment. Providing hearing aids will do the same for the children with hearing disability, and so on and so on. And this is actually very, very low cost, especially for visual impairment. Now, I said that first we need to show that there is a difference in outcomes, and then we need to show that there are high returns to investing in the education of children with disabilities. I mean, we all agree here, it's a right? There's no, I mean, we agree on that, it's a right. But even after you have said it's a right for children with disabilities to go to school like any other children, you still need to convince the ministries to spend the money that they need to spend for the children to succeed. So you need to make also the economic argument, I think. So on the returns to education, here I have a slide that I'm not going to explain in details, it would take too long, but human capital wealth, which is the value of the future earnings of the labor force, is the main source of wealth of countries, much more than natural wealth, much more than invested or produced capital. The value of your people, the skills that you impart on your people actually is the main source of wealth of countries, which is what helps produce GDP and help people avoid poverty, for example. That's a very broad argument. Now, if we look at Uganda, I won't go in details here as well. You can see also that we need to get the children beyond primary to have decent rates of returns. But the next slide is the most important one. And I know I'm going very fast, but I have about 10 minutes, I think, and I may exceed it by 1 or 2. This is a visual. Again, we will give you the slides. The returns to the education of children with disability is no different than the returns to education to the children without disability, right? And that's very important because some people may think, if we invest in children with disabilities, we won't have the same economic return. Not true. The returns are actually exactly the same, and we tested that across countries. But we need the children to be in school, and we need the children to learn in school to be able to reap those returns, right? So, theory of change, I said we have still large gaps, and we all know that, between children with and without disabilities in basically any measure you take, whether it's attainment, whether it's achievement, or even other outcomes. We can show that the returns to education for investing in those children with disabilities are very high as they are for others. And then you need to demonstrate that interventions are both feasible, they can be successful, and they can be affordable. You need all three, right? So then I come to School I Health. This is just a map for Uganda with the prevalence of visual impairment for children. And there are quite a few NGOs that have implemented great programs. Now, this is a key slide. And again, I won't be able to go in all the details, but look at the line screened where you have $2 per child for 50 schools and $1 per child for scale-up, right? Essentially, in Uganda, detailed data on the cost of school health interventions, which is training the teachers to recognize that children may have visual impairment, and then when that is the case, having a referral, and either they get, again, my pair of eyeglasses, which cost almost nothing, or they get some more serious interventions to prevent blindness, for example, in the future. The cost of that is $2 per child or $1 per child, depending on the pilot or the full cost in Liberia. That's extremely cheap. And that means that it has a high return because, again, it will help the kids to remain in school and it will help the kids to learn more in school, and that will reduce dropout, again, with lack of learning poverty, as we call it, being the main reason for children to drop out. Now, the conclusion, but I will say one more thing after the conclusion. The conclusion is that we can show that we still have huge gaps. We know that. We can show that the returns for the economic argument for investing in children with disabilities are very high. And we can show that we have actually interventions that work and that are affordable, right? Now, others will discuss more digital technology specifically, right? But there is one point where there's an intersection here. It is that a lot of the training that we need to provide to teachers to recognize the children who are visually impaired can actually be done online, right? And this is one of the things that we are pushing. It's actually not very complicated. And you can show that teachers are able to diagnose 98 to 99% of visual impairment among kids, right? So this is just one example of the use of assistive technologies. It's not digital per se, but where digital technologies could even reduce costs further, and making the case that this is not only the right thing to do to ensure opportunities for those kids, but also it's very affordable, it has large impact, and therefore we should try to convince governments to do this at a broad scale. So that's it. And on other aspects, or I'll say just one more thing. Okay, I'll take 1 more minute, right? If you look at the data for PASEC, for example, because I think this is important perhaps for the other presenters. If you look at the data about what training do teachers get, right? The type of training that they get the least is training on inclusive education and for children with disabilities, right? And we have about 12 types of trainings or more in PASEC. They get a lot of training on other things. They get almost no training on this. And some of what has been done by IITE in terms of providing online training is one of the ways to go to try to reverse that and make sure that the teachers know what to do, and so the kids can succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Quentin. You have our utmost appreciation for the absolutely precious insight, though based on the specifics of a particular region, but still so relevant across countries and education systems. Thank you so much. Now, our webinar is privileged to have gained the support of our outstanding colleagues at the International Telecommunication Union, the regional office for CIS. The team of ITU's office for the CIS region is inspired and led by their remarkable director, by Ms. Natalia Mochu. Natalia, it's a true pleasure to welcome your participation. The floor and our attention are all yours.
Thank you greatly for the invitation. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, participants. It is indeed my pleasure to attend this meeting organized by our esteemed colleagues from sister agency, UNESCO Institute for Information Technology and Education. And we do believe this topic is of such enormous importance, drawing attention in our work, but also drawing our minds and hearts in bringing the new and the most of opportunities, especially that the IT has nowadays to all and especially to people with disabilities. I would like to share a small presentation on reflecting on our approach of the International Telecommunication Union, and I hope you can see it well on your screens. And let me do it this way. So I work with the International Telecommunication Union at the regional office for the CIS, leading the office that is based also in Moscow. However, International Telecommunication Union as a whole works quite extensively on the topic of digital inclusion and digital accessibility. And let me again thank you for the invitation to this event. Our approach, as we see the changes brought by the fourth industrial revolution and the overall moving to the online world, is how much our regular daily life changes, impacting so many areas of our life, including education, business, family and social interaction, public services, and so on and so forth. And we do believe that everyone has the right to communicate and use the IT equally, both in offline and online. This including all people, those with disabilities as well. In our approach on building an inclusive digital society for all people, the ITU is looking at it in a complex manner, but to put it simple, it's threefold. We believe that to make the ICT inclusive and accessible, you need availability of infrastructure first, then affordability of ICTs, meaning the cost of it, of the connectivity and of the devices, and also the accessible, meaning the digital skills and knowledge to be adopted to the means of people with disabilities, to have accessible devices, products, and services by design, preferably, and to have enough policies and standards that would include the aspects of accessibility and overall digital inclusiveness in the relevant policies and strategies. When we speak about the digital skills and literacy from the perspective of ICT, we look into some basic or use some basic approaches, understanding that the main barriers to use technology might be the level of ICT skills coupled with affordability. And these are the areas that show us where to work, where to focus our energy and our activities. The digital literacy includes such aspects as capacities to use in various ways the ICTs, depending on the digital platforms. So these aspects should be under our focus and attention. Appropriate knowledge and skills, again, are required to use equipment, platforms, applications to be able to communicate, interact, use services, again, giving us a variety of small and large aspects where to focus our activity. And of course, a particular attention should be drawn to educational activities and educational aspects. Now, when we look at the work of the ITU in the development space, we work quite extensively on various types of activities aimed at building a more accessible and digitally sound ICT environment. So ITU is providing expert advice. We work on designing, developing, and making various tools and resources available to our member states and stakeholders. These tools being accessible in format as well. We try to raise awareness through knowledge, working with our partners, building networking platforms, and so on and so forth, and also trying to deliver some executive trainings to strengthen the understanding and the awareness of the ITU member states and stakeholders on the ICT accessibility, and try to promote the topic throughout the member states. Now, within ITU, we have more than over 70 development-related tools and resources, and you can check them out through the QR code presented on the screen. Those related to various national, regional, or global resources and tools available. Also on this slide, we tried to bring together some links to existing online training courses or tutorials related to various aspects of ICT accessibility that cover policy, practical policy aspects, practical aspects, various technical aspects related to web accessibility, to TV, to standards, and so on and so forth. Many resources. Some of them are now being translated. Most are available in English or French, some in Spanish, but we also work in the regional office to make this available in Russian, as well as in various accessible formats like sign language, subtitles, and so on. So a voiceover text or over video, to make those as accessible and largely disseminated as possible. Now, from our perspective, another, as we see, the technology is well around all the aspects of our life, and we communicate and consume a lot of information from the web content. We understand that the web itself, the information provided online, should be in accessible format. And some time ago, we have developed and put together various best practices and international standard approaches into a dedicated recommendation on web accessibility that can be used by governments, by social services, by businesses, by universities, and other various organizations that would like to make their web content in an accessible format and use these recommendations that are also published online. Now, besides the policy, strategies, tools, and so on and so forth, we in the ITU, and specifically in the regional office, are trying to pilot and implement some of those tools and approaches in pilot projects, such as dedicated training centers for persons with disabilities, mostly for children with various types of disabilities. We don't work with schools directly, hence we work with our partners who are seeing the stringent necessity to open dedicated training centers for children and build digital skills to those children, who would be then able to either get their higher education or be more independent in building their further mature life. Such kind of centers work in Kyrgyzstan and for various types of disabilities. 2 centers are supported in Belarus for children with hearing impairments, and a training center was recently opened in Uzbekistan for, again, children with with inequalities and is actively working on a daily basis. And I'm happy to say that UNESCO IITE was one of the our partners in opening several of those centers and providing both the setup, equipment, and relevant knowledge and training to those centers. I should mention that the biggest interest that we see from the trainers of these centers is the training, the capacity building of the trainers who work with different types of children or different groups of children with disabilities, because they themselves have to be well aware and well trained of using the technology to best bring the knowledge and the digital skill to these children. This is what is being done, of course, and we continue to work extensively. And this year specifically, based on the demand from our countries, we have worked to assess and to research various methodologies for teaching of digital skills to children with disabilities. This methodology will be presented and discussed in the event that we'll be holding on the 11th of December in hybrid format in our office and online. So please join us for the event. And we take this event as an opportunity to discuss not only the new piece of work of research that was done this year jointly with our Belarus colleagues, but also to share the experiences of the training centers, of the trainees and trainers that are continuously updating their knowledge, and discuss what else or what more we can further do in the years to come in the region and in each country as such. Regarding the methodology, as we speak today about the digital for education, but we also think of digital skills as such that can bring a lot of benefits to people with disabilities. The study itself looked into the existing curricula for learning digital skills. We have tried to assess various assistive technologies that are being used, and a colleague just ahead of us was speaking about the glasses, about the hearing devices, about special software, and so on and so on. We have looked into the options and accessibility of employment for people with disabilities and where digital skills are in demand or can support in employing people with disabilities. We looked into the available specialities currently and where those lists of specialities that are available for people with disabilities could be upgraded. We also, try to develop recommendations for all the interested stakeholders to enhance and improve programs for teaching of digital skills to people with disabilities. So again, this piece of work is now being finalized to be presented at the roundtable on the 11th of December. And then will be enhanced, and the final version will be published officially. Now, out of the whole work that we are doing on policy advice, on development of the tools, development of online courses, on studying the approaches to teach digital skills, there are some recommendations that we would like to share with you on ensuring the inclusive education for all. Of what we see, and I hope to be short here and allow you to think and reflect on those additionally as we move on today. First is we see importance of having relevant policies and regulations and their continuous development. We encourage and understand that the public-private partnership is extremely important. All the stakeholders should come together. There is not enough in this area, and there will always be people who are lacking behind, who are having certain disabilities and can benefit from the digital skills. And as our global lead on digital inclusion is often saying, is that we all at some point of time will get some sort of disability as we grow or older, either moving or seeing or hearing. So this is indeed something that touches all people, not to speak about those who suffer from disabilities in their early years. We see the benefit of collaboration with international tech companies and organizations that can bring the technology, the software and hardware that would be focused on people with disabilities and include the inclusion piece by design. We should work towards a barrier-free environment, provide psychological and pedagogical support to children with disabilities. We should think and aim to have relevant systems of rehabilitation, absolutely promote inclusion of persons with disabilities in education and employment system on equal footing, increase awareness about ICT accessibility, provide trainings to ICT professionals, developers, the people who build the technology, for them to embed the accessible aspects by design in the technology, for them to understand what kind of accessible features are needed by the people with disabilities. Ensure that websites and online services are accessible, especially that currently so many government services, payment services are provided online. Integrate accessible ICT tools and resources in education institutions, promote employment, invest in research, development, monitoring, evaluation, understanding the needs and demands, and so on and so forth. And we also working on another hand with startups, understand that startups being eager and easy are also a great resource to find and develop new agile tools to support in the with the assistive technologies in the education sector. There are many more. We can discuss them for hours and hours, but at this point of time, I would like to thank you so much, and really wishing that our contribution, brought together with all the contributions of other interested stakeholders, can make our world more accessible, better, kinder, and indeed equal for all. Thank you very much, and looking forward to our continued discussion.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Thank you for the outstanding efforts by your team, by ITU, and the impressive results that you have shared with us. And this gratitude is actually reiterated at every meeting we have with our ITU colleagues, because as we say, all our efforts wouldn't be successful without your committed work, because it is ITU that provides the connection, the enabling environment for further productive and efficient technology involving efforts and interventions and all activities. Therefore, we again thank you for your commitment and for making all our efforts and aspirations and all our activities successful, for giving the ground for our further actions. Thank you, Natalia, and thank you, the team of the regional office, ITU's regional office for CIS. Thank you. As the UNESCO Institutes, IITE and ICBA are delighted to welcome also the delegate from our UN sister agency, UNICEF. The education specialist of the Skills and Digital Learning Division, Ms. Rachel Cooper, represents the organization where equity, inclusion, and diversity are part of DNA, lying at the heart of what colleagues do around the world to support quality learning for every child, especially those in greatest danger of being left behind. And it's not their job, but a calling. Rachel, we deeply acknowledge your being with us today, and I'm happy to yield the floor to you.
Great, thank you so much, Elena. Let me share my screen very quickly. Okay. I hope that you can all see the slides that I'm sharing. Great, okay, perfect. So thank you so much for having us here today on this important panel on the International Day for People with Disabilities. From UNICEF, building global awareness around the importance of reaching children with disabilities with quality learning opportunities online and offline is critical to our mission. And so I'm honored to join this group of presenters on behalf of the UNICEF education team, which works very closely with our disability team on inclusive and accessible education. My name is Rachel Cooper. I work in UNICEF headquarters, and as mentioned, I lead work on equity and inclusion in digital education and transformation. I'm a female with white skin, brown curly hair, and I have a blue background which has the UNICEF logo on it. So when we think about using digital technologies to support inclusion of children with disabilities in education, I think it's important to keep in mind how broad that term children with disabilities is, and that a one-size-fits-all approach will not work. Learners with visual impairments need different interventions than learners with hearing impairments, and those with learning disabilities require different support. And I know that us in this webinar and in this community, we're all aware of this, but I think it's really important to keep in mind, given how much more work needs to be done to reach children with disabilities with quality learning opportunities. And so some of the other speakers have talked about some of the barriers. Very quickly, I think that there's several that need to be considered: physical, attitudinal, communication, and policy barriers that hinder access to education. We also need to consider intersectionality in this space and diversity within the broad term of disability. So if we, let me change the slide. So if we just zoom and look at the big picture for education with learners for disabilities, as many of us know, we're in the midst of a learning crisis that's threatening to undo past progress made towards children's right to education. And overall, our estimates show that nearly 2/3 of 10-year-olds are unable to read and understand a simple text. And so for children with disabilities, this learning crisis has always existed due to the multiple barriers that they're confronted with on their learning journeys and throughout their lives. There's an estimated 240 million children with disabilities globally, and these children experience significant disparities in their access to quality education and learning outcomes. Compared to children without learning disabilities or other disabilities, children with disabilities are 49% more likely to have never attended school, 47% more likely to be out of primary school, and 42% less likely to attain foundational reading and numeracy skills. And of course, children with disabilities need to develop a full range of skills just like their peers, which includes not just the foundational skills of reading and math, but also transferable skills, digital skills, job-specific skills, and entrepreneurial skills. And we know that poverty is also a big factor, and it's directly connected to digitalization of learning. 80% of children with disabilities live in developing countries. And in many countries, due to a lack of inclusive social protection programs, the financial burden often falls on families of children with disabilities. So within the context of providing digital learning solutions for children with disabilities, research from UNICEF and the EdTech Hub has shown several gaps that need to be addressed in order to make digital learning equitable and inclusive. In a report that we published late last year, the Pulse Check on Digital Learning, we found that 1 in 3 digital learning platforms that were used during COVID-19 are no longer working or have not been updated since 2020. Furthermore, according to the same report, most digital and distance learning solutions that are still active remain inaccessible to children in humanitarian settings. 70% do not have any offline features, and the majority are also not accessible for children with disabilities, 78%. So if we think about this, the fact that less than a quarter of digital learning platforms globally are accessible, have any accessibility features for children with disabilities, it's quite concerning. As part of UNICEF's approach, we work holistically to address the multiple digital divides. This includes the connectivity divide, the device divide, digital skills divide, and importantly, the social divides, including gender, language, and disability. 9 out of 10 new internet users speak local languages for which there's little or no content available for their learning online. There's a great gender divide in access to devices, internet, and digital skills. And children with disabilities lack access to assistive technologies to support their learning. And so we think that we need an ecosystem approach to achieve inclusive quality education for all and to meet the SDG for education, to include prioritizing children with disabilities in the transformation of education systems. And we see that many governments, nearly 50% in UNICEF-supported countries, are actively making progress to advance inclusive education systems. However, approaches are often unsustainable due to shifting priorities and funding that prevent systematic mainstreaming of disability-inclusive considerations across education policies and programs at large. And so to achieve inclusive education, we need accessibility to schools, investments in teacher training, data on children with disabilities who are often undercounted or uncounted. And for the purposes of today's discussion, I highlight the importance of assistive technology and learning materials available in accessible formats. We also know that participation and engagement of children with disabilities, their families, and organizations of persons with disabilities in all education processes is critical. There's also some risks, I think, that need to be addressed. And so with the promises that technology offers, we also need to be cognizant of the specific risks that are present for children with disabilities online due to lack of online safety measures, lack of self-efficacy, self-isolation. There's often stigmas associated with technology for people with disabilities. And so these are all things that we need to overcome and find solutions to as well. Children with disabilities are also at a higher risk of experiencing online sexual abuse and exploitation. And so this is an important consideration when using technology too. So responding to the need to have accessible digital learning materials for learners with disabilities, UNICEF's Accessible Digital Textbooks initiative gives all learners access to information in alternative accessible formats and is being implemented currently in 9 contexts and growing. This allows children with and without disabilities to engage with the same content in the same classroom. The ADT initiative, Accessible Digital Textbooks initiative, allows education systems to move from traditional printed textbooks, as shown on this slide, to accessible digital universal design for learning content, which enables customization, a menu of accessibility features, accessibility options, interactive exercises, and a glossary. And as I mentioned, this has been implemented so far in 9 countries. And it's of those 9, 6 are in the Latin American Caribbean region. And so UNICEF in Paraguay, as part of this initiative, developed digital textbooks with accessibility features that allow children with different disabilities and learning preferences to engage with content in meaningful and appropriate ways, including through sign language, simplified text, and interactive exercises. And by 2024, the program aims to reach 30,000 students in 300 schools. There's also been implementation of accessible digital learning programs in Tajikistan, where UNICEF works with the Ministry of Education to reach 2.2 million learners and 129,000 teachers through 3 digital learning platforms with inclusive education resources for children and teachers, and also including the parents of children with disabilities. In 2022, as part of this programming, UNICEF developed 2007 digital inclusive learning content targeting all subjects and grades for primary and general secondary education. And because Uganda was mentioned as an example before, I just wanted to also mention some work happening in Uganda between UNICEF and the Ministry of Education, and highlighting that only 9% of children with disabilities in Uganda are enrolled in primary school, and only 6% of these will attend secondary school, with only 5% of children living with disabilities able to access education within an inclusive setting. So I think really taking a holistic approach is critical in this environment. And there's several efforts underway, including adapting the curricula and creating an accessible digital multimedia curriculum and content, which is being developed collaboratively with the Ministry of Education, and it's undergoing a pilot phase currently, and we're hoping that there will be promising results that can enable scale up to reach more children with disabilities. It's currently in 20 primary inclusive schools in Uganda, and the adapted materials incorporate audio for visually impaired students, large print for those with low vision, and sign language videos for hard of hearing or deaf learners. And access to this content is through DAISY players, as well as the government's e-learning platform, Colibri. And this can be accessed on laptops, either through installed software or online, so reaching children with and without connectivity as well. As part of this effort, schools are being equipped with assistive digital equipment. Teacher training is a critical component of it, as is engagement with organizations of people with disabilities, parents and caregivers, and children with disabilities themselves. And this just to highlight that as the Accessible Digital Textbooks Initiative is rolling out further in countries, we have been building in research in these implementations. And so there's some early promising evidence from Paraguay and Jamaica, and I'm happy to share the links to these studies as well. And as I mentioned, the Accessible Digital Textbooks Initiative is expanding. And so UNICEF is now building on the success of the ADT initiative to reimagine textbooks of the future by leveraging emerging technology like generative AI to enable cost-effective development, overcome barriers to scale, and transform learning to meet the diverse needs and abilities of all learners. So please watch this space. And finally, I'd like to highlight the global initiative Gateways to Public Digital Learning, which was launched at the Transforming Education Summit in 2022, and it's co-led by UNICEF and UNESCO. And the initiative supports governments to build accessible and high-quality national digital learning platforms and content to ensure education continuity by making digital learning a public good available to all children. And accessibility for children with disabilities is a critical part of this. And I think that through this global platform, we can help to elevate the amazing work that's being done in some countries and to help make learning platforms and content more accessible for children with disabilities in other contexts as well. So with that, I'll close and hand to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. You have our deep acknowledgement for the presentation, for the insights, for the critical statistics that you've shared with us and reminded us that it is not about just going forward and keeping doing something and coming up with new ideas. It is about expediting progress towards truly inclusive and equitable, genuinely equitable quality education for persons with disabilities. For example, the numbers that the quota of all digital learning platforms being accessible to persons with disabilities, that sure makes all of us, all attendees and the speakers and panelists think over everything that we're doing and thinking about the new steps that we can take towards our common goal and our common shared aspirations. Thank you very much, Rachel. And by the way, the way you presented yourself in the very beginning proves again your commitment, involvement, and concern. Thank you very much. Thanks. It's truly a calling. Thank you, Rachel. The last 6 months, IITE has been deep into the major scale collection of best global practices on the use of technology in the education and socialization of persons with different types of disabilities and special learning needs. And this endeavor of ours wouldn't have been possible without the dedicated involvement of our exceptional leading consultant, Dr. Lorenzo Desideri, who has put his tremendous efforts into this commitment and gained invaluable insights. Lorenzo, I humbly pass the floor to you to share the results of your rigorous activity and studies.
Thanks, Elena. Just 1 second, I try to share my screen. Okay.
Perfect.
Hi, thanks for the introduction and hello, everybody, or greetings to everyone. Well, thank you, Elena, and all the organizers of this very remarkable event for having me in this webinar. I'm Lorenzo Desideri, joining you from Italy. Today, as Elena said, I have the pleasure of serving as an expert consultant for UNESCO IITE. Thanks again for this possibility. In this role, I have focused on gathering and analyzing data from resource centers worldwide. In my contribution to this webinar, I'll be sharing an overview of the findings from this data collection. These insights are intended to spark further discussion and idea sharing, as today we explore the intersection of technology, digital technology, and inclusive education. Technology roles in promoting equity and inclusion in education is well recognized, as also shown in the latest UNESCO's Global Education Monitoring Report. In this report illustrates how common technologies, mainstream technologies like tablets and smartphones, for instance, open new educational opportunities for students with disabilities, and we also today have stressed this repeatedly, including those in remote areas. Additionally, specialized solutions, as also today has been stressed repeatedly, such as assistive technologies, are vital in making learning more accessible, acting as gateways to education for students with disabilities and marginalized students. While mainstream and specialized technologies hold great potential for inclusive education, however, two significant barriers impede their effectiveness. As the speaker before me has already mentioned, digital inequalities, including limited access to and affordability of digital tools, connectivity issues, and a gap in skills and motivation for using these technologies need to be addressed for successful technology integration in education. However, merely addressing digital inequality does not guarantee educational inclusion and equity. The second major barrier is the absence of dedicated resource centers or specialized centers to assist students with disabilities. These centers are vital for matching student needs with the right technology, helping teachers implement these solutions, and ensuring coordinated efforts for true inclusion. However, there is no global agreement or guidelines on how these centers should operate. Bridging this knowledge gap requires sharing information about how different countries manage and organize their resource centers. These can reveal best practices and help improve or establish such centers in areas where they are lacking or need to be improved. Building on the need to understand resource centers' role better, UNESCO IITE launched an online survey to deeply understand the center organization, functions, and practices globally. We identified potential participants through online research and direct engagement with international organizations. Our survey lasted about 45 minutes, covering organizational details and examples of effective technology for inclusion. 11 resource centers from around the world have participated in our survey so far. These include the Vision Skills Lab in India, the Regional Center for the Support of Inclusive Education Process and Assist Foundation both in Bulgaria, the Milan Petrovic Resource Center in Serbia, the Regional Center for Assistive Technology and the Territorial Support Center in Italy, sites in the US, the Center for the Development of Inclusion Technologies in Chile, the Asociazione in Defesa dell'Infante Neurologico in Argentina, the Access to Communication and Technology Unit in Malta, and the Cyprus Assistive Technologies, Disabilities and Inclusive Education Multidisciplinary Research Unit. While these centers represent just a small fraction, a small sample of the numerous resource centers worldwide, their participation provides us with a valuable snapshot. They indeed offer diverse perspectives, reflecting a wide range of organizational structures, scopes, and target populations. For instance, the 11 resource centers in our survey fit into 4 operational categories: school-based, aligning with the formal educational system; healthcare-based, within disability support services; academia or research-based, focusing on research and student support; and independent NGOs, working autonomously with tools to support inclusive education. These categories, while not rigid, offer a framework to understand the diverse approaches and roles of these centers globally. The data collected from the survey has been summarized to achieve 2 key objectives. Firstly, to develop a specific profile for each resource center, and second, to explore the similarities and differences across these centers. To achieve a comprehensive analysis, the data was organized under 3 main topics: organizational structure, to examine how each center is set up and managed; capacity building, Here we focus on the efforts made by these centers in training and developing skills and technological resources available, to include a detailed analysis of the tools and open educational resources that these centers use or produce. With these overarching topics, we also identify specific subtopics that allowed us to delve deeper into the working approaches and operational capacities of each resource center. So let's quickly explore some of the key findings collected. Starting from the beneficiaries of the resource centers, our survey reveals that they universally serve students, but also parents and teachers. Notably, 2 centers also support children from birth. While most centers address a broad range of disabilities, including autism and complex communication needs, some specialized services in specific areas like specific learning disorders or visual impairments. All surveyed centers feature, this is important, a multidisciplinary team with staff numbers ranging from 6 to 40. Common roles include educators, occupational therapists, speech-language therapists, pedagogists, and technicians, showcasing the varied expertise employed to support inclusive education through technology. Funding for the centers varies, showing adaptation to local context. Most are fully or partly publicly funded, and the majority offer their services for free. Where charges apply, however, users have always access to reimbursement options, ensuring services remain accessible to everyone. Regarding technology in classroom, only few centers provide comprehensive services like loan, maintenance, or refurbishing, ensuring technology is not only supplied but also effectively utilized. Central to their mission, most resource centers focus on 2 main tasks: assessing students' technology needs and helping integrate technology into classrooms, mainly through assistive and communication technologies for inclusive education. It's important to note that these centers often assess technology needs, but do not usually supply the technology themselves. A significant aspect of their work involves supporting educators and parents. This support is provided through various means, ranging from formal consultations to more informal guidance. Every center focuses on improving skills in inclusive education, particularly in using assistive and mainstream technologies. Most organize workshops and seminars for teachers and parents, mostly covering assistive technology for learning, alternative and augmentative communication, and inclusive teaching strategies such as universal design for learning. All centers prioritize continuous professional development for their staff, ensuring expertise in their fields. Many also collaborate with external organizations, such as universities, and engage in international projects and conferences. With regard to technological infrastructure, it's noteworthy that all centers have broadband internet connectivity, a crucial foundation for their operations. Focusing on the technology equipment used to support inclusion, solutions like augmentative and alternative communication and alternative input devices, both hardware and software, are widely used. These tools are essential for facilitating access to learning materials, enhancing communication, supporting social interaction. Sorry. Notably, sophisticated solutions like eye trackers are common, though they require some very specific skills to be operated. All centers actively use or produce OERs. The majority utilize free online resources. Additionally, some centers create their own materials like handbooks or educational software, exemplified at resource centers in Chile. Very briefly, as we conclude our exploration of the survey's findings, let's consider the critical factors impacting technology in education as reported by the resource centers involved in the survey. Key barriers include inadequate training, bureaucratic delays, financial constraints, limited integration in teacher training, infrastructure challenges, staff turnover, and hesitancy towards technology use. On the other side, in contrast, successful technology adoption is supported by strategies such as universal design for learning, individualized and team approaches, ongoing professional development, and fostering a sense of ownership and community engagement in educational settings. Some of these concepts have already emerged during the previous presentations. To conclude, in summarizing our findings, it's clear that resource centers predominantly utilize and provide standard specialized solutions, focusing on commercial availability and the customization of specialized and mainstream technologies. Innovation is key, but it requires specific skills to be truly effective. Notably, artificial intelligence is seldom mentioned, indicating a potential gap in knowledge about AI application in these settings. Developing guidelines on AI use in resource centers should and could be immensely beneficial. To conclude, it's crucial to remember that technology is not merely a tool. Resource centers have a broader role in promoting equity and inclusion, not just through technology, but also by aiding educators in creating enabling education environment, as stressed by the Global Report on Assistive Technology last year. Finally, the importance of sharing practices cannot be overstated. The establishment of connections between resource centers, both nationally and internationally, is crucial. I really hope that the collaboration of the 11 centers in our survey could mark the beginning of an international network, sharing expertise in using specialized and mainstream technologies to enhance equity and inclusion in education. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Lorenzo. In fact, the Institute and our project team couldn't thank you enough for all the complete dedication that you've displayed, you and your co-researcher, Ms. Natalia Potapenko. She's not with us presenting today, but we thank you both for the dedication and for the commitment to this endeavor. And in your person, through both of you, we thank the resource centers that took part in this collection of best practices, that shared their insights, the specifics of their daily activities with us, that furnished us with the very important information from inside out, with the first-hand insights about their challenges, about the new pedagogical approaches that they use, about the technology use, the specifics of the technology use for their beneficial and rewarding practice. Thank you indeed for the presentation, for sharing the insights of the collection of best practices, your research and analysis with all the participants and attendees, and all the online viewers who with us today and who will watch the recording of this webinar session. And despite all the difficulties that both of you, our researchers, have encountered during this endeavor, during this collection of best practices, you both have come up with outstanding results. And we are still, so that everyone, so that our participants and attendees are aware of the fact that we are still in the process, that the analysis is ongoing, and we still have our capacity building activities on the ground upcoming. We still already appreciate and thank you both for all the work that you have done. It's really a pleasure. It is our honor to have you both as our expert consultants. Thank you very much, Lorenzo. Our dear experts, our distinguished guests, with profound gratitude, we recognize your participation and contribution. You make this occasion truly special. Now, to embrace the moment with all of us present in this virtual hall, we kindly ask you, our keynote speakers, our panelists, and all active participants, to turn your cameras for about a minute, so that to give us the chance for a vivid and memorable snapshot. Just 30 seconds or a minute, and we'll move to the next meaningful stage and phase of our online session. So I once again invite you to turn your cameras on so that we have this this picture to memorize.
So I'm visible. It's okay.
Wonderful, Vashka. Thank you. Thank you all. Quentin, Tao. And we'll once again ask, of course, all our participants, all the keynote speakers and the panelists at the end of the session, so that when everyone, if everyone has the chance to stay till the end of the session, we'll ask you again to turn your cameras just to wish a wonderful day or the rest of the day or a good night to all of us and our attendees. And now we'll elevate it as we are. We move to the next phase of our online session. And I turn to the host and the moderator of today's panel discussion, Ms. Natalia Amelina, our knowledgeable unit chief at UNESCO IITE, the Senior National Project Officer for Education. Natalia, The microphone, the floor, and the attention of the entire assembly are now yours.
Elena, thank you so much. Thank you for introduction. Dear colleagues, dear specialists, dear experts, it's a great pleasure for me to be in this panel discussion and to moderate this panel discussion on the occasion of the United Nations Day of Disability and to meet with our honored experts. Let me introduce to you our experts who will take part in our discussion today. Dr. Mohammed Kanthi Hirbi, Head of Training Section of MEDA from Qatar Assistive Technology Center. Mr. Chon Man Victor Wong, Founder and Chief Executive Officer of the Bridge AI from Hong Kong. Mr. Bhaskar Bhattacharjee, Inclusion Advisor, Program Manager, and Head of ICT and Resource Center on Disabilities and Young Power in Social Action from Bangladesh. It's a great pleasure to have all of you together. And one more expert is Mr. Roberto Vitali, online and live event executive from Anastasis Social Cooperative from Italy. Thank you, experts, for joining this discussion. And today, unfortunately, the time is running up and we don't have much time. So I kindly ask all of our experts to be more focused and brief, if possible. Today, we will discuss a number of questions related to digital inclusion. And my first question is about the digital divide. The affordability of technology solutions has a direct impact on equality, inclusion, and the enjoyment of learning experience that technical solutions are originally meant to enhance. The disparity in access to technologies and related services is heightened among learners with disabilities that are additionally disadvantages in terms of access to social and financial support. It is the case of migrants, refugees, asylum seekers, indigenous and stateless people, those in conflict or humanitarian situations, and other vulnerable communities. The challenge lies in the fact that relevant funding and services are either difficult to access, for example, due to remote location, or highly fragmented, for example, lack of sufficient resources from government or private sector. So my questions are the following. What reasonable steps can stakeholders take today to mitigate or even to prevent the extension of the existing gaps in the access to information and knowledge for people with disabilities? And one more question, how can we avoid causing multifold marginalization and inequalities related to the digital divide within the digital disability community? So dear experts, could I ask you to take the floor and to provide your opinions on it? Please share your experience.
Audio now unmuted alert.
So, can I do?
Yes.
Okay. There is, according to my experience as a person with disability, I was just faced several difficulties on regarding accessibility and there is three challenges. One is accessibility, another is the affordability, another is the awareness. So this is very, very important to address three of the challenges for ensuring equality in the digital space. Zero Digital Divide campaign has launched by Bangladesh with the UNDP. So when we are talking about the Zero Digital Divide, we saw that accessibility is the biggest barrier for people with disabilities. Our web apps are not accessible for people with disabilities. When we talked about the Zero Digital Divide, we saw the affordability. People with disabilities don't have the technology, connectivity, etc., and they are unable to procure them. And lastly, we understand the awareness. Many people has no idea that people with disabilities can use digital technology. Nobody knows. Many people don't know. Even in the educational system, digital technology not introduced yet regarding inclusive education or spatial education. The good thing is that we are now innovating some technologies such as multimedia talking book, accessible dictionary, etc. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bashkar. Dear experts, who will be the next?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Mohammed, please.
Hello, so this is Dr. Mohammed from Qatar Assistive Technology Center, MADA. It's my pleasure to take part in this valuable webinar and to participate in, pushing things forward in order to enhance accessibility for people with disabilities around the world, in Qatar and beyond, of course. So as our previous distinguished colleagues shed light on the main, let me say, barriers hindering access to persons with disabilities, like knowledge and skills barriers, financial barriers, technology barriers, physical barriers, etc. I think that all stakeholders should work together in order to try to, let me say, enable the entire ICT accessibility ecosystem components, like the legislation and policies, training and capacity building, raising awareness, accessibility of mainstream technologies, all these components, composing the whole picture of the ICT accessibility. And we at MADA Center, we are endeavoring in order to enhance ICT accessibility for all, particularly for persons with disability, of course, in Qatar and beyond. And we are trying to promote digital inclusion for all through the services that we are providing, like the assistive technology services, the digital accessibility services, the training and capacity building services, and also through our research and innovation programs and activities. So I can maybe shed light a little bit more on these projects and flagship projects that we are conducting here in MADA next, when I'll be replying to the next questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed. Other experts, can I invite Mr. Victor Wong?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm Victor from Hong Kong, and we are doing AI projects using AI technology to make the individualized education plan or individualized training plans for special education needs children. The way that we are doing it is we are not trying to use AI to replace any therapists or teachers, but we are using it as a tools to assist the teachers to make the sessions, the training sessions, to be more effective and efficient. So we need a lot of different Internet of Things to support this role. In order to train up therapists in Hong Kong, or I think even in worldwide, it takes a very long time in terms of years. And the way we are doing is we try to utilize more university students as a tutor for the special education needs children. They have to learn about, using the technology, using the system, and then the system, the AI engine, could help to create the individualized education plan, which is quite difficult, which needs a lot of experience and time and knowledge to do so. But, in terms of using AI, that helps a lot. At least there's a quite useful and individualized plan for the students. And then the university students, they can just base on that plan to execute with the special education needs children. That is, I think, is record others experts saying that it's quite feasible and also cost-effective way in order to use the technologies to do so.
Thank you very much, Victor. Roberto, can I also invite you to share your experience on it?
Thank you very much for your invitation. I'm Roberto Vitali. I'm expert in learning techniques for people with disability. And regarding the Italian experience, I would like to say that we can evaluate different aspects of the digital divide issue, both economical and technological. We are lucky because access to the internet is relatively inexpensive. It's possible to access through mobile devices with plans of around €6 per month and fiber optics with cost between 25 and 30 euros per month. And as far as I know, these are the lowest access fares, at least in Europe. It's not a coincidence that Italy is one of the countries with the highest ratio of smartphone per capita. But we shouldn't be surprised since we are a chatty nation, as you know. So we can say that the digital divide in Italy is mainly orographic, depending on the physical geography of the Italian territory, whose mountain areas are not fully served by fiber optics or cell phone repeaters because it's too expensive to install and maintain compared to the population living in the mountain. And good news is that the COVID pandemic has helped to partially bridge the digital divide through the greater diffusion of tablets and PCs, supported and financed by the Ministry of Education, and thanks to small and large IT companies, which have helped this commitment, providing for free software and platform. This has been an essential element of equalization, because before the pandemic, the technological tool in the classroom was almost always reserved for students with special educational needs and disability, and therefore was a perceived stigma. Today, it's different. The situation has become much more nuanced, and the perception of stigma has significantly decreased. Indeed, moreover, the pandemic has highlighted the IT skill of some groups of students with special educational needs, because they, being power users, have become trainers for teacher and student colleagues who are not prepared for the use of those technologies. So, what has been forced the emergency situation should become structural, a sort of index of normality.
Thank you very much, Roberta. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, experts, for sharing your views and opinions. You know, I'm listening to your arguments, I'm listening to your opinions, and think that this topic is has a highly priority for many countries, for almost of our countries in the world. And today we learned a lot from our keynote speakers who provided some statistics on inequalities, on digital divide. And also we can learn from different research studies and from UNESCO resources. I can also mention Global Education Monitoring Report that we have every year, and every time in this report it is highlighted that digital divide for people with disabilities is a highly priority for UNESCO and United Nations system in general. So it is very important to understand how we can move forward and how we can solve these problems. And it's highly appreciated that all of you have your own experience, and you can share it with our specialists, with our teachers. And so my next question will be about your experience. Despite all challenges, technological advancements bring about dramatic improvements in the lives and the development of persons with disabilities, including learners with long-term health issues and special educational needs. In the use of ICT, artificial intelligence, and assistive technologies improves their learning experience, social skills, and further their employment opportunities by providing the best education possible building their capacities and necessary life skills. All of our participants today, experts, represent highly experienced practitioners in the remarkably impactful domain. Could you kindly share your particular individual or organizational achievements in ensuring learners with disabilities access to the curriculum, supporting them in knowledge attainment, or providing a platform for the development and improvement of life skills through the use of technologies? So we are very interested in your experience. Who can start?
Okay, I can go first.
Ashkar, yes, please.
Yeah, you know, one of our nicest innovation is the multimedia talking book. Multimedia talking book means people can read this book by listening, by seeing, and by touching. That means there is full text, full audio. This is one of the best innovation we have innovated for Bangladesh. And you will be very happy to know Bangladesh National Textbook Board, each year, they are providing this multimedia talking book to the children with disabilities. As multimedia talking book has possible, so now we are easily can convert the braille books also, as there is all the books converted into ebook. So it is easy to convert in braille. So this is one of the nicest innovation from us, and you will be very happy to know that because of these innovations. And another innovation is called accessible dictionary. That is 4 dictionaries in a same platform, so anyone can use it, including people with disabilities. And you will be very glad to know that because of my 2 innovation, I was awarded UNESCO Ahmed Jaber Prize in 2018, and I was received that UNESCO award from Paris UNESCO office. So really, I feel proud to be part of this innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashkar. Dr. Mohammed.
Okay. Yes. When it comes to talk about education and how we are supporting education sector here in Qatar, actually the education sector represents one of the most important sectors that we are targeting in our strategy here. As well as, you know, the community and deployment sectors. The target, for example, in the education sector is to attain 45% as a rank of our as a rate of our projects that you are conducting. You know, let me here remind quickly the DARE Index reports. You know, the DARE Index is the Digital Accessibility Right Evaluation Index, the benchmark tool that was developed by G3 ICT to track and to trace the progress and commitment of governments when it comes to ICT accessibility for the different services provided by the government. You know, Qatar has been ranked first in 2020 worldwide. And one of the actually key findings of the DARE Index 2020 report is that there is still a lack in terms of skills, competencies, knowledge, and available ICT accessibility courses, whether in the higher education or professional development services. So we started from these key findings, and we tried to address our way this issue. In that regard, we were endeavoring in order to create and to increase the availability of ICT accessibility courses, especially the digital courses available, I mean online, and to this end, we created the MADA ICT Ed Competency Framework. It stands for ICT Accessibility and Inclusive Design Competency Framework. So it covers all the required and relevant competencies that the target audience should master in order to be able to use and to develop accessible content, services, and products. We've also developed a kind of centralized repository, which is called MADA ICT Ed Aligned Open Educational Resources Hub. It is a centralized platform hosted in the well-known digital library platform OER Comes, and in which we are gathering all the ICT accessibility aligned resources, that can be used for self-paced learning, or that can be used at school, or that can be used also at universities in order to foster the integration of ICT accessibility topics in university curriculum, like in CCP, core curriculum program, or as elective courses, or whatsoever. So these are the two main flagship projects that we've recently launched in order to enhance the access to learning opportunities when it comes to learn more about ICT accessibility and acquire ICT accessibility competencies and skills.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed. Victor, could you kindly share your experience with us?
Yeah, sure. I think I would like to share slides in order to, help the audience to understand more about what I'm doing. Okay. So this is a user interface of our system. So first of all, we will help the special education needs students to do the assessment, and based on that assessment result, the AI engine could help to create the individualized education plan. And then we'll be going into the sessions, the training sessions. So the way we do is we just need two tablets. One is we put in front of the training table, and then we will record down the whole training assessment. The students will wear a waistband. We could predict the students' emotion based on the vital signals. And we also have an environmental sensors put in front of the tablet in order to capture the noise, the sound level, the air conditions, and other environmental informations. And then another tablet, the therapist will use it to record down the student's performance so that the video and the student performance data is synchronized together. And all these data go into the database, and the AI engine could be able to recommend the next session's training program. So after every single sessions, in fact, we could immediately compare the students in 6 different domains of the students' performance. Because based on different training program, we classified it into into 6 domains under communication, social emotion, sensory and motor, independence and self-help skills, academic and learning, and behavioral development. So these are all the training program that has been created and put into the database. And it is currently being used in the Singapore of the National Council of Social Service, and also in Hong Kong, there's hospitals and social welfare departments using it, and it has been being used in other mainstream schools, special schools, hospitals, medical group, and other social service departments. So this is what we are going in Asia, including Hong Kong and Singapore, and we also having different types of research. I think we have sent in the chat messages that we have already published 2 papers regarding using this system. So 87% of the students using this system has demonstrated progression in learning. And the other one is we published in IIIE is that our learning machine learning models and deep network neural network can predict the accuracy is about 98% in order to predict the behavioral change of the SEN students. And there's some others research is going on together with some universities in Japan and also in Singapore.
in 38 years of experience of life of anastasis, it's not so easy to pick up just one experience, one relevant experience. So I choose the last one, and I would like to share with you a figure that gives us a great satisfaction. The strong growth in access to university for students with special learning disorder, whose access to the university has risen from the 0.1 in 2012 to over 2% last year. We retain that technology has been the cornerstone in achieving this result. And since our cooperative until 2 years ago was the only company in Italy dealing exclusively with software for special educational need, we believe that we have played a role in the successful outcome for students. Technological mediators for access to information have evolved dramatically over time, starting from the simple readers that use a text-to-speech synthesizer to read through the auditory channel, which were initially borrowed from the world of aids for blind and visually impaired. We have come to build software that support learning and study by following individual student preferred channels and styles. So the software has become a really effective toolbox where the student can choose the most suitable tool for themselves and the task they have to carry out. Also, methodology has played a vital role. For instance, using mind maps or conceptual maps by the so-called visual learners was really a turning point for improving learning. This improvement was crucial for acquiring a valid degree of self-esteem that helped cope with the typical low self-esteem experienced by people with disability and special needs.
Thank you, dear experts. Thank you so much for sharing with us such inspiring practice from your side. You know, many of you have already took part in our online survey, which we will have, we will collect all the achievements and results, and it will be published at our website and probably at our e-library platform. I will tell you later about it a little bit. But anyway, I just want to say that it is amazing. It is amazing to have a number of good practices from our highly experienced experts. And I am sure that your practice can be disseminated and it will make an impact in many countries. So just want to say thank you for your engagement and your open views on it. And my next question will be about the teachers. I think that today we have learned a lot from our keynote speakers and from our honored experts about the importance of teacher professional development. So widespread of technologies and its large potential in the field of education have resulted in new requirements for professional competencies of educators. Since the mission of educators is to support and enhance personalized learning, modern teachers should have not only enough knowledge and skills related to the technology use, but also they need to have competencies how to adopt technologies to the individual needs of the learner, including those who have special needs or disabilities. So I have several questions in this big area. How to ensure proper preparation of teachers working with children with disabilities so that they have related competencies to apply technological solutions for inclusive education. How to support teachers in this field? What would be the means to support them? Courses, surveys to take into consideration their needs, conferences for teachers and for networking and exchange of experience. What are the most effective ways of encouraging teachers to recognize the benefits of tech-enriched personalized education and how to motivate teachers to use these technologies? And, you know, thinking about this big field of activities, I also need to ask you, how can governmental officials and international organizations, including United Nations agencies, can support ICT competency development and raising motivation among the teachers to use technologies in educational process? So many questions about the teachers. Who can start? Probably Vashkar, as usual.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So we have some very good example of use of technology by the teacher. You know, we have some kind of multimedia classroom. Multimedia classroom means teachers are using projectors and laptop for taking their classes. And so this is very unique for the people, for the students, including a student with disabilities. And you will be very glad to know that we have hundreds of teachers who are persons with disabilities, and especially persons with visual disabilities. They are using multimedia classroom, multimedia talking book, and multimedia content for taking classes. Unfortunately, our educational system for people with disabilities has divided in a three part. One is inclusive education, which is run by the Ministry of Education. Another is special education, which is run by the Ministry of Social Welfare. That's really created a huge divide among the students with disabilities, because, you know, Ministry of Social Welfare, they don't have knowledge and expertise to teach the students. So that's why we saw that a group of students with disabilities are really not able to get the proper education. And the third model is that integrated education. Integrated education is one of the good model, because, you know, children with disabilities are going in a mainstreaming school, and they have a hostel facilities and resource teacher. So as there is many children with disabilities came from the poorest of the poor family. So these types of hostel facilities, resource teacher facilities really make the difference. So this much from my end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vashkar. It's every time very, difficult to know that different organizations should take part in preparation of teachers. Every time it could be a problem. Probably Dr. Mohammed can also share his opinion about teachers.
Yes, thank you. So, as I said previously, when I went through the different types of services that we are providing here in MEDA, in relation, especially with the assistive technology, digital accessibility, and training and capability building. So, you know, for the assistive technology, for example, we are collaborating closely with the Ministry of Education and Higher Education here in Qatar, and we are making the AT team are making frequently the assessment and evaluation sessions with students with disabilities. We are providing them with appropriate assistive technology devices, whether hardware or software, and we are also making the follow-up after that, and the support, the technical support, and the training. Also, for the digital accessibility services, we are making the evaluation of all the digital platforms, especially in education, you know, when it comes to use the learning management systems, the different education tools and technologies that are used and integrated in the classroom. We make the assessment and evaluation of this device in order to make sure that all of them are aligned to the accessibility standards and best practices, especially when it comes to use web content. We make sure that this content is aligned to WCAG, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.1 and onwards. And regarding the training and capacity building, as I said previously, we've recently launched MEDA Academy. MEDA Academy, which is an initiative that has been recently launched in order to empower people and institutions here in Qatar, and enhance access to learning opportunities, whether it is life learning opportunities or professional development opportunities. So MEDA Center provides training and capacity building services via Mada Academy. And we are providing engaging courses, technology enhanced courses using various training modalities like online training, self-paced online training, or instructor-led online training, and so on and so forth. So if I have time, I can take you through a short visit to some of the portals that we are using in order to provide the services.
Yes, please.
Is it okay?
Yes, very
Okay, good.
shortly.
Good. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good. So this is Mada Academy portal. So through this portal, we are featuring all the training courses that we are providing, especially for and particularly for teachers in close collaboration with the ministry. And they have here a dedicated center for the professional development and learning for teachers, which is called Training TEDC, Training and Education Development Center for Teachers. So this year we've provided like 68 training workshops till the month of November, which is equivalent to 222 training hours for 1,000 attendees. Here are some of our featured courses. And we are, keep in touch with all teachers that we are training through this platform. Here also, I've mentioned that before, the OER Hub, which is hosted on the OER Campus. So we are trying to avail the great potential of open education in order to enhance access to learning materials, accessible learning materials, and these open educational resources are relating mainly to the field of ICT, accessibility, and inclusive design. Of course, all these resources are aligned to the competency framework, so that here you can see, for example, all of them are organized based on the 6 competency domains of our competency framework, the ICT and competency framework. Okay, so anyone, teachers, or anyone interested in learning more about and getting and acquiring skills in the field of ICT accessibility, assistive technology, and inclusive design, they can access this repository and share their learning experience, their materials, and their teaching practices. Here are some of the competency framework adopters, Mada ICT adopters. So here the ministry and some of the local universities. And we are looking forward to collaborate with also foreign universities to adopt this competency framework. And this framework, it is open for all. It is open to be contextualized based on the needs of universities and ministries of education. This framework is also added as an educational standard on OER-CAM. So as you can see here, anyone can use the framework, the competency framework, in order to index and align his or her learning resources dealing with ICT accessibility field. We have also, in terms of accessibility of web platforms and digital platforms, the Meda Web Accessibility Monitor for Qatar. So this tool are used in order to rate the accessibility of all the governmental websites and digital platforms. So you can see here some of the platforms are accessible, others are not. So you can see here this. If the score it is between 90 and 100%, it is passed. If not, it is failed. And we are making also an automated test and a manually usability test. We have also an AI-based avatar, which is called actually Mohammed. So this is 3D avatar that we use in order to make an interpretation using the Qatar sign language, and it can be embedded in any website. The first phase was dealing with pre-recorded scenes, and now we are trying to enhance using AI, availing AI to enhance the translation of texts in any website into Qatar sign language.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for these very, very important results of your work. Thank you. And now I would also like to ask Victor.
Oh, yes. I would also like to share a slide. It's okay, right? Can see.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. Yeah, the way we are doing to train the teachers, but not only the teachers indeed, but we also train up, as I said before, is some university students who are interested to helping the society as a tutor. And we also train parents to become the tutors of their own children so that they can train their own children at home as well. And that is the continuities from the learning center and the special schools. And then at home, they are using the same education plan, same platform. The way we provide the training is we have a very structural 42 hours training. So 10 hours will be online training. So we put, some of the basic applied behavior analysis concept online so that they will understand, how to break down the tasks and how to do all the performance of the tasks. And then the second part will be role play, so that every year we will hold 2 to 4 cohort of training. So inviting those students or teachers or parents to come in, and then we will do the training face-to-face, online, not online, face-to-face role play sessions for them. And then 10 hours will be practicum training, so that they will train their own kids, or we have some other special education students for them to do the practice. And there's also 2 hours training of the system. So this is kind of a 4 weeks to 42 hours trainings, which will be provided to the schools, special schools, to NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and also parents.
Okay, thank you very much, Victor.
Thank you.
And Roberto, can we also ask you for your experience on it, on teachers?
Yes, just very short 4 words of context about Italy before the answer. The Italian legislation abolished the special classes, which were reserved only for students with disability, in 1977. The last class was really closed in 1994. Since then, teachers have to add to, how can I say, culturally address, first of all, the term integration, and then the subsequent term inclusion. So the very open issue at the moment is inclusive didactics, intending this term as a single didactic approach that falls under all teachers and is addressed to all students, and not only to those with special educational needs, to have a school that is truly for all and for each individual. For this, methodologies can be even low or no technology, but still is clear to anyone how ICTs can be highly motivating and equalizing. The Italian Association for Dyslexia, together with the Ministry of Education and with the support of Italian Telecom, which is a relevant private company as a sponsor, realized a training plan in recent years that involved more or less half of the Italian schools. However, the results obtained were only partially satisfactory. As anesthetists, we come every day into direct contact with the difficulty and the gaps of the Italian school staff knowledge of dyslexia and learning disorder. So we observe that the difference between teachers lies in their motivation, and therefore in placing student learning at the center rather than teacher explanations. On the disability front, the situation is made different by regulation, because certification of disability gives the student the right to take advantage of a support teacher. The difficulty here is finding a sufficient number of teachers but above all, teachers and above all, teachers adequately trained for student needs. Thus, because the support teacher figure is seen more as a springboard towards the ordinary teaching role and not as a didactic activity in itself, not as a professional profile. So, who remain in the role of support teacher are extremely motivated people who make every effort to stay updated, including on the technology front. So, in short, our experience suggests to work a lot on teachers' motivation. Of course, everything concerning their pedagogical, didactic, and technological training is no less important, but the aspect of motivation is what, in our experience, drives all the other aspects of teacher training experience.
Thank you very much, Roberta. Dear experts, we learn from you, and I'm thinking about this topic on teachers. I think that teacher professional development in the field of special educational needs is one of the hot topics, hot priorities for many countries, and from our research studies, from United Nations research studies, we know that there are a lot of requests from countries to support them in terms of teacher professional development in this very narrow field, because this field should accumulate different topics. From one hand, this is ICT competency development of teachers, and on the other hand, this is professional development of teachers in the era of special education, on the field of inclusive didactics, as Roberta has just mentioned today. So we have very important field, and I would say it is a gap of information, and I'm very happy to know that all of our experts today shared with us this experience, and I'm sure that our participants acknowledged this information and will visit your websites and get some more information from it. And finally, I know that the time is crazy running. I would like to ask you a question about the funding and investments. It is very important to have enough funding to implement activities and programs on digital education and digital inclusion. How to attract more investments and funding from non-governmental structures to development of technological solutions for disability inclusion and preventing the digital divide. What will be the role of government and international organizations to promote this process? Who can start?
Yeah, I can again.
Bashkar, yes.
Thank you. So you can see, according to my opinion, funding is not a big challenge, at least for my country, because there is many digital infrastructure is building by the government and non-government sector. But unfortunately, awareness regarding disability related digital inclusion is completely missing. There is many people has no idea that children with disabilities can have technology, or they can use computer, smartphone, etc. This is one of the biggest challenges. That's why investment is not there. Unfortunately, in the special education sector, we couldn't see any investment for the technology such as computer or etc. Even though when we saw the mainstreaming schools, they're building digital lab and ebook, etc. But unfortunately, when it is come to inclusive education for children with disabilities, we are not seeing much initiative for digital inclusion and technological innovation. So this is one of the biggest challenges we are facing. Thank you.
Thank you, Bashkar. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed. could we kindly ask you for your opinion?
Yes, yes. I think actually that finding is very, very important for all stakeholders, whether they are entrepreneurs, technology developers, institutions, etc. It is very important to get decent funds in order to be able to, develop accessible solutions for persons with disabilities. And when it comes to raise funding about this area, I think that there are some key strategies that organization should take, like conducting awareness campaigns to highlight the importance of disability inclusion, highlighting successful examples where technology has positively impacted the lives of persons with disabilities, engaging in advocacy efforts to promote the benefits of disability inclusive technology. Also, we need to facilitate the PPP, public-private partnerships, to encourage collaboration between government, NGOs, and other companies. And MEDA, actually, as a non-profit organization, or as we call it here, a private institution for public benefit, has got specific programs in order to increase funding and in order to encourage all the stakeholders to develop accessible solutions. It is called MIP, or MEDA Innovation Program. So this program was designed to encourage innovators, especially here in Qatar and in the MENA region, to create Arabic solutions for persons with disability, increasing thus the availability of such solution within the region. And we are also giving grants to innovators, whether it is direct grants or it is a kind of endorsement. So the endorsement program is designed to provide a launchpad for international local established entities who has already their concept proof ideas, and they need funds in order to make the implementation of these ideas. We have also an award next Thursday, the day after tomorrow. I think we're gonna organize the Innovation Day, and we're gonna provide these awards to the finalists that have participated in the competition. So MEDA Innovation Award is aimed to reward innovative solutions that promote accessibility and enhance the lives of persons with disabilities. We've got two kinds of awards: localization of existing solutions, translation into Arabic language in order to be used here in Qatar and also in the region, and also giving direct grant awards to the participants in MEDA Innovation competition.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing. Victor, do you have some ideas about funding and investments in this field? Thank you.
Yeah, our organization started in 2015. We are doing behavioral analysis for special education needs children. So the way that we do is the ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, is very scientific, data-centric, and individualized. So starting from 2015, we store a lot of, every day we store a lot of different types of students' performance data related to the performance and the training. In 2019, we applied the Hong Kong government funding, the Innovative and Technology Fund. So that is how we start the Bridge AI program. We use all the data that has been stored for the past 5 years, and then using the funding to start to build up our AI engine. And now we are getting the third phase of the funding. So our system is currently applying to the government, to the social welfare department in Hong Kong, to the hospitals, and some of the NGOs. They also apply some private fund, charity fund, in order to for them to use our system. And we also won some award, competition and award in Hong Kong and Singapore. So that's why we also implement our system in Singapore and other Asian countries.
Thank you for these insights from your own experience, Victor. And now, Roberta, could you kindly also please share with us your
being a software developer, Anastasis has always been in favor and oriented towards involving end users and also intermediate users and stakeholders. When we began developing educational software in 1987, we did this based on the specific request coming directly from schools. As well, when we started the line of software for dyslexia, we did it in cooperation with the Italian Association for Dyslexia. And when we developed the all-Italian online platform for the rehabilitation of learning disorders, we did it together with a pool of academics from the best Italian university in psychology. Even today, our development model is essential for focus group and field testing. And it's so much that we have an area of the cooperative called Anastasis Labs, which welcomes students with special educational needs in after-school activity. And these students are the first who try our software and give us their direct feedback. Collaboration with Association of Family of People with Disability has also led us to evolve some software over time in a direction that we had not yet foreseen. And to ensure maximum applicability and usability, we use the universal design for learning methodology to design our software and platforms. Certainly, we don't claim to create tools that do everything for everyone, which would be unrealistic and fanciful. Still, building tools that a very wide range of students can use, it's possible.
Okay, thank you so much, Roberto. Thank you very much, dear experts, for sharing your views. Summarizing this panel discussion part of our webinar, I need to say that it is only by ensuring the rights of people with disabilities that we will be able to be more closer to achieving the central promise of the Sustainable Development Goal to 2030 agenda, to leave no one behind in the development process. And today we have learned a lot from our honorable experts and keynote speakers who shared with us their opinion, vision, and approaches to the issues, to the questions of digital inclusion. I also have learned a lot from you, and I made some notes for myself, and I just want to highlight some red lines that almost all of you, I mean experts, mentioned today during our discussion. First of all, this is awareness campaign. It is very important to provide more information to specialists, not only to teachers and to families, but also for governmental officials about the importance of digital inclusion. It is a high priority to promote teacher capacity development in the field of digital accessibility, digital inclusion, and education of persons with disabilities. Speaking about the investments, it's also what was a kind of inspiration for me. It's not enough to have funding in your pocket. It's very, very important to know how to deal with this funding, how to prepare a proper strategy which will be in line with the requirements and demands of the social and economic status of your country, of your area. And finally, this is also of highly importance to provide access to information and knowledge by means of governmental websites, And Dr. Mohammed just showed to us some example that there is a special tool for checking accessibility of the websites that is very important to persons with disabilities. And also one more point is about promoting OER and open learning resources for those who have difficulties in getting access to information. And all these points together means that we need to have systematic approach to digital inclusion and promoting of digital accessibility. I would like to thank you all for this very important discussion, and I am deeply acknowledge your participation, and would like to say that our participants, they should get inspiration from our discussion. Probably they have got some examples how to use this or that approaches or these or that ideas in their own practice, daily practice. Thank you, thank you all. Elena, back to you. Do we have any other questions to be discussed today?
In fact, Natalia, we have one very broad question in the Q&A session. If we still have the time for the discussion, we would be reading it out loud for your consideration, for the consideration of the panel. Since we have, we used the entire session time and have gone over, so it is up to the organizers and our leaders to decide whether we should turn to the Q&A session, or it is time for us to part for this very session, to conclude this session and to think about our future upcoming meetings and discussions on this topic, on this very issue, and the questions that have been raised here and today.
Elena, yes, Elena, I saw this question. This is about the culture, the culture
exactly.
of use of digital technologies. I think that during all of our discussion today, where we were trying to answer this question, how we can make the change in our minds, how we can make the change in our culture in the use of technology. But if we have already discussed and provided some examples, but if any of our experts would like to add something, how we can change the culture of the use of technologies and implementation of ICT technologies in inclusive education, please let us know, and we would like to hear your vision. If no special comments, Elena.
Yes, the power of technology has grown tremendously in recent decades, and the internet age has revolutionized the realm of education and transformed the way people interact across the globe. However, how Professor Stephen Hawking stated during his video message to the UNESCO International Conference on the role of ICT for persons with disabilities, and that was back in 2014, he said, we need to make sure this technology becomes available to those who need it, so that no one lives in silence. And that is the message for all of us stakeholders, for everyone who is concerned, who is involved, who can and does take steps towards making sure that education is the tide that lifts all boats equally. That is the message that we want you to take with you from this session, and recognizing each and everyone's input to the success of today's session. We kindly ask you again to enable your microphones, to enable your cameras, and say goodbye to each other and wish success in all our shared aspirations, in our common and shared activities towards achieving the genuinely and truly inclusive and equitable education for less affluent, but those most in need. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, colleagues. We truly appreciate and acknowledge your participation. Let us turn our cameras and microphones on and say goodbye to each other and wish us all success in our endeavors.
Now unmuted. From Lisa Congress.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues.
Colleagues.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you, colleagues.
Bye.
See you next
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Now give feedback.
Bye-bye.
Cancel button. Leave with Quentin.